Hello and welcome to The Thread. This is a podcast about my knitwear design journey, all of the things I happen to be knitting on the side, and whatever other nerdy tangent I may or may not feel like skipping down this week. My name is Nicole. I'm the nerdy knitwear designer behind Common Thread Fiber, so you can find me on all the socials. I'll put them in the down bar. And this week, we're going to talk about choosing color in our hand knits. So if that sounds good to you, let's jump right into it. So first things first, new viewers, hi, hello, how are you? Old viewers, returning viewers, what up, homies? I'm super glad you're here. This is absolutely about to be a tangent episode. It's been a while since we have one of those, and I thought, it's about time. Let's do another tangent. It's been a minute. So really, what I've been thinking about a lot is how I'm choosing the colors that I'm knitting with. This is not about to be an episode about color theory. It's not about to be an episode about choosing color for color work. Those are very different topics than what has kind of been going through my head lately. What I've been thinking a lot about is coming from the fact that I just recently moved from Florida to Baltimore, and my sense of style is coming back. So when I lived in Florida, I could not wear basically anything that I typically would. A lot of my favorite colors I couldn't wear. It was either too hot or it's just they weren't seasonally appropriate, so they were never available. And I basically was stuck wearing what people would wear in the summer all year round. And so when I moved to Baltimore, the two wolves that reside inside me both got to come back out. One definitely has been getting some more airtime than the other, and I think what's happening is we're reaching a balance. So we're going to talk about those two wolves. We're going to talk about the color palette that I tend to think that I really wear a lot and where in that color palette I fall. And then we're going to look at some actual FOs and some whips that I'm working on, both old whips and current whips. And we're going to see if that's actually accurate. So I've been interested to know if it's really more of an attitudinal fallacy. Am I saying that I really like to knit and wear this color, but then when I really go look at it, is it really there? Do I actually hate this color like I think I do? Or am I wearing it more than I think I do? Stuff like that. So there was definitely one pattern. It's one of mine. It's the one I just released that really got me thinking about this because it was knit in colors I would generally have said I don't really wear. But here's an FO that I'm planning on wearing plenty in the winter. And it's there it is, basically. It's proof that obviously I do choose these colors. And so that really got me thinking. So for the first step, what I did, I went ahead and I made a mood board. I went on my Pinterest and I chose the things that really spoke to me. And this is where the fact that there are two wolves that live inside me really became clear. So I'll pop the mood board up right now so you can see it. On the side, you'll see the general color palette I fall within. Now, even in that color palette, I would tell you that I tend to reside in the warmer chunk of the color palette. So yellows, oranges, reds, maroons, and that I don't tend to do a whole lot of purples and blues. It's not that I don't wear purple and it's not that I don't wear blue. It's just that I don't tend to gravitate towards them. I do tend to use blue a lot in like my interior design, but not in my actual sense of fashion. So that's what I would tell you. And then you can see the wildly different senses of style that really speak to me. The way I like to jokingly put this is, one is Rosie Cotton's daughter. If anybody doesn't know, Rosie Cotton is the hobbit that Samwise Gamgee marries. So daughter of Sam and Rosie. The other wolf that lives inside me is the Nazgul's goddaughter. And I do think it's a little funny that in my brain, the Nazgul has a goddaughter. And of course, there's more than one Nazgul. One of the Nazgul has a goddaughter. It's a little funny to me, but here we all are. Basically, one of the Nazgul had a baby with Stevie Nicks, and that's my sense of style. So I tend to oscillate between these two wildly different vibes. And then I have a couple of, mood photos that, like the fantasy vibe, that's my thing, but also the kind of retro, a little more vintage vibe. So it's interesting. It's interesting that I have these two very different sensibilities. Now, when I moved, the Nazgul little punk kid definitely came out. That is definitely the side of me that I've been expressing more in what I wear. But that inner hobbit who just wants to wear, my A-line skirts and some Oxfords and I just want to go lay in a field and read Tolkien, that side of me I think is starting to come out more. And I think that's what I am witnessing. So let's talk about exactly what it is that I'm witnessing, shall we? And if anybody's wondering, what good is this topic? Why are we talking about this? I will explain. I have been trying to be a little bit more intentional about my wardrobe. And I think that's coming from the fact that we moved and I was looking at what I wanted to wear and realized I didn't have anything. So I had a lot of pastels, a lot of linen, and it's not my vibe. It's just not my vibe. And so I knew that I needed to kind of refine myself, but I didn't want to do so in a wasteful way. I didn't want to just be basically taking wet paper towel, throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. So I've been really looking at a lot of inspiration sources like the ones I just shared. I've been thinking about what makes me feel most like me, what makes me step outside and basically be like, I am here. Prepare yourselves. So when do I feel peak me? And I know that that definitely translates into knitting. So when I was a beginner knitter, I was very attracted to super variegated yarn, lots of speckles, all the bright colors. And then I would never knit with them because they're not things that I would wear. And that's just me personally. I have absolutely nothing against those beautiful colors, nothing against those beautiful speckles. And when people can rock them, my God, they look amazing. It's just not my vibe. I like tonals. I like solids because I like to throw a lot of texture in and I like to do a lot of color work. And for me, I don't love low contrast. And that's just my personal opinion on what I like on my body. I then see people with low contrast color work or color work that has variegation in it, and it looks amazing. It's just not for me. So I got out of that very quickly. I think I maybe only bought a couple skeins of yarn that I didn't end up using. And so I've gifted that yarn to people who I know will use it. For example, I bought a skein of yarn that was absolutely the color of a freaking mermaid. There's no other way to put it. It was this vibrant purple with lime green and bright teal, and it was a beautiful skein of yarn. And I was trying to push myself out of my comfort zone and thought, I'll knit with this and I'll wear it. I started knitting with it, looked at it and went, there's no way on God's green earth I am never going to wear this. It's never going to happen. So I sent that skein of yarn to my friend who is basically the personification of a mermaid, and she'll look amazing in it. Whatever she makes out of it, whether it's socks, a headband, whatever she does, it will look incredible on her. And so I wanted to make sure that when I am pushing myself out of my comfort zone, I'm doing so in a way that makes sense, in a way that it's something new for me that I'll actually use, instead of pushing myself so far out of my comfort zone that there's no reason. Like it's not actually pushing myself out of my comfort zone if I'm never going to use it, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping if anybody like me feels like they could shake it up a little bit, but they don't necessarily want to shake themselves out of their own cup, then this maybe, I'm hoping, can help you at least not feel like you're going through it on your own. And we can kind of talk about what feels successful for me, and maybe that'll help you. Maybe not, but I hope it does. We're going to start with the pattern that started these wheels in my head turning. This is my pattern, and the FOs and the whips we're going to talk about in this episode, some of them are mine, some of them are not. So it's a pretty solid mix. And like I said, some of them are old, basically long languishing, and some of them are not. And so we'll go from there, but we're going to start with this pattern. This is the newest pattern that I just released. It's called Halflings Garden Party. So this is it, if anyone hasn't seen it. It is a cowl. Just to give you a little bit of details about it, it is 16¼ inches in width or height, so going up this way, and it's 33 inches in circumference. So that's this guy. So as you can see, it's knit in a tube. So you would cast it on, you use a provisional cast on, you cast on in this direction, you knit down, and what you do at the end, you unpick your provisional cast off, or cast on, and then you graft them together. So Before I go any further with this, I want to give a huge shout out to Anna Lang. Returning viewers will have heard me speak about Anna before. New viewers, if you are a sock knitter, take notes. Anna is a gift to the knitting world. So Anna sample knit this for me, but she is also Fishhead Creations on Ravelry. Anna designs, she designs a lot of accessories. I think she's also left some recipes for sweaters. Anna, if you watch this podcast, please correct me in the comments if that's not correct. But I know Anna as an amazing sock designer. So she has really great sock patterns, and they often use color work. The repeats that she tends to use are small and digestible, and they're adorable. And all of her patterns are on Ravelry for free. So take notes especially if you are a sock knitter. I know she has some hats too. And anyway, Anna she sample knit this for me. And I'm just so, so grateful. I love the idea that when I wear this in the winter, it's basically going to be like having a hug from my homie in Germany, like right in my face. And so thank you, Anna. I really, really appreciate it. But with this is knit out of Holst Super Soft. So this is a very woolly wool. It's very rustic wool. And so it's really great for color work. And the colors we're talking about are the brown is tobacco and the white is ecru. And when you knit this, if you want to modify it, it's very easy to do. So, and I give you all the information in the pattern to do it. You just want to take your gauge, know how big one repeat is, add, subtract accordingly. So if you want to create more height, so you want to make this taller, you would add a repeat during cast on. If you want to make this shorter, you would remove a repeat during cast on. If you want to make this longer, you just knit extra repeats. It will change how much yarn you use, but it's really simple to do. And again, I give you all the math based on my gauge. So if you get a close enough gauge and you want to modify, you have all the information you need to in the pattern. So these are the colors. These are the colors that got me looking at this and going, whoa, wait a minute. What would I wear that with? I was a little concerned because I do typically wear what I assumed, at least like my thoughts were that I wear more autumnal jewel tones, basically. And so the swatch for this is in the exact kind of colors I would have told you that I would wear. I'll pop a picture up here. So it was knit out of maroon and gold. I love maroons. I love golds. I love mustard, burnt orange. I mean, these are some of my favorite colors. Basically, look in a pile of leaves. Those are the colors I love. And in my mind, I would have assumed I would have wanted this out of one of those colors. But this whole thing that I've been going through, looking through my whips, looking through my FOs, looking at my closet, I realized, homegirl, this color would be in a pile of leaves too. So you're not out of, the realm of normal here as far as my color palette is concerned. But also I think it's something about the fact that it's a cowl. Now I know most people might disagree with me. For me, I like my accessories to be a little more neutral, and I like my garments to be a bit more statement pieces. And I think that's because my coats, the two coats that I have, one is navy and the other is like a forest green. This would go amazing with both of them. So I just think that my outerwear tends to be a little more on the neutral side than I would normally do. And so I want my accessories to go with that. If it's a shawl, I'll go crazy. If it's, a hat, I'll go bright colors. But especially with things like cowls, I think I tend to want more neutral and, rustic, down to earth kind of colors. So that's what you get here. Now, one of my test knitters who modified the pattern as well, she knit it out of a wildly different yarn with very different colors. So Laura from Knit and Word test knit this for me. I'll pop a picture of hers in right here. And she knit this out of a superwash yak base that I do believe she's taking on into her shop eventually in the future. And she held it with Spin Cycle. So the fade you see, that is Spin Cycle doing what Spin Cycle does. And you can see it's a very different FO in the best way possible. So with mine, when you see me, in the photos, having a bad enough hair day as it is, I'm not about to insult to injury, put this on, look like Carrot Top stuck his finger in a light socket. We're not going to do it. In mine, it stands up on its own. And that's because this is super rustic yarn. Laura's looks much more like a silky, luxurious, woolly necklace. It's partially because she made hers a little thinner, the height of it a little thinner, and it's also partially the superwash that she used. So just like any kind of garden that you would ever want to plant, there is innumerable combinations that you could put together. The potential is endless, right? So that's exactly why I started thinking so much about color in my wardrobe. So let's start talking about some of the other whips and FOs. And just one more time, this is my most recent pattern. This is called the Halflings Garden Party. This is originally from my That 70s Hobbit color work. And when I was thinking about why did I stray so far from the original color inspiration, I know why. I'm going to design a vest and a cardigan that has this color work on it. And I think that's where you're going to really see the maroon and gold start coming in. So with all of that in mind, let's take a look at that mood board one more time. So you'll notice the color palette and how I would have said I typically stick towards the warmer end of the color palette. Now, I went and looked at all of my FOs and all of my whips, and I have to say I found some pretty interesting stuff. I do definitely knit with the warmer side of the color palette, but I have a little bit more that's towards the cooler side of the color palette, which I was not expecting. So let's start with an FO, shall we? So this is a great example of a color that is in my wheelhouse, but definitely outside of my comfort zone. And I think that's where I found the sweet spot, is to successfully go out of my comfort zone and make it so that I'm still wearing it. It's still useful. I didn't just waste money on yarn I'm never going to use. Or buy something in a color I'm never going to wear. It has to be in that palette, in that wheelhouse, but maybe not on the side that I think I would tend to gravitate towards. And this FO is a great example. So this is the Flax Pullover by Tin Can Knits. You'll see in the slide, I have the photo of the OG Flax and my version. So I made this a steeked cardigan. This was supposed to be my Blue Wizards cardigan for the Fall Fandom Make-Along, which I run a Fall Fandom Make-Along every fall. I will probably start talking about this, in the next couple podcast episodes. We're not going to go into it right now, but I knit this cardigan and named it the Blue Wizards cardigan so that when someone said, Nicole, how is this connected to Lord of the Rings? I could say, because it's the Blue Wizards. Because it's blue. That's basically it. So that's how the Fall Fandom Make-Along works. If you can connect it to your favorite fandom, it counts. So, but I took the Flax Pullover, I steeked it, I took out the garter panel. So there usually would be a garter panel going, I think, down the arm. I took that out because I just wanted a basic. I made it oversized on purpose, and I steeked it. And this is it now. So you kind of saw it in the photo, but this is the color we're working with. Now, this color absolutely fits within that autumnal, kind of jewel tone palette, but it is not a color I typically buy. So if I was to go into my closet and pick out all of the colors like this that I have hanging in there, I think there might be maybe two things that are remotely close. I don't tend to go towards a lot of blue, but here I am knitting with it. So I think this is a really great example of how to go out of the wheelhouse successfully, because I wear this cardigan all the time, as is evidenced by all this pilling. So this is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted, and it pills. It pills like a mother, guys. It's pretty bad. But what I will say about it, you can really see, especially under the arm, which you expect a lot of pilling there because your sweater is going to rub a lot. So that's expected. The reason that I continue to knit with Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted, even though it pills that badly, is because this is a workhorse yarn. I am not afraid of gleaning this. I am not worried about, using a gleaner and it shaving some of it off. I know this is still going to last a really long time because this is a hard-working yarn. And honestly, yarn's going to pill. There's a certain extent to which yarn is going to pill. You can't get around it. And I will say that I do think there's something about stockinette in this yarn pills a lot faster and a lot easier than texture. We'll talk about why in a minute. But this color, I love this color, but for some reason, You're going to see it more in my house than you see it in my wardrobe. My couch is pretty close to this color. And I don't know what it is, but here I am knitting with it. This is one of my comfort cardigans. I wear this in the car when we go on car trips. I wear it when I'm bopping around the house and it's a little chilly. But you might not see me wearing it out very much. And that's because I wear a lot of black. And this is a hard one to pair with black. It's not that you can't. I think if it was a little more on the teal side, I would feel a little bit better about it. So not even more on the teal side, a little lighter. So a little bit brighter. A little like this to me is a neutral. This to me is a neutral, but I also agree. I think it's Laura from Knitting. I think it's Laura. Laura, are you the one who says chartreuse is a neutral? Because I don't disagree. And yeah, but I think this is a great example of how to go out of that comfort zone, but do so successfully because I wear it all the time and I love it. It's very rare that you will see me in a yarn store leaving with this kind of color unless it's for my husband. So FO number 1, in the wheelhouse, well, outside the wheelhouse, but successfully done. Especially look at these buttons, y'all. I love these buttons. They're fantastic. Also, if you see the marks on my arms, I just went to the allergist. So sorry, whatever. I got temporary tattoos. It's fine. So that's the first FO. Let's look at a whip. Let's go towards the warm side, shall we? And look at this long languishing whip, which also goes well into talking about how Knit Picks Wool of the Andes pills more of a stockinette in my experience. And there might be a reason for that, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to come up with it. So this is my Golden Haul shawl. So this is the second sample of my Golden Haul shawl. The first one is knit out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted in the brass colorway. That color is also probably about as neutral as I normally would say that I would go. Now, I wear that shawl all the time. I wear it with crossbody bags. I wear it with backpacks, and there is no pilling to be seen. So I do wonder if it has something to do with the fact that that shawl is highly textured. Now, I will also say the shawl is not going to have yarn against yarn under your arm like a cardigan will. That might have something to do with it too. But again, there's plenty of friction happening across the body and on the back, which in my cardigan, you're getting a lot of that friction on the front and on the back too, and it's pilling pretty badly. So I do think there's something about texture. If anybody actually knows if there is a reason for that, let me know in the comments because I'm super interested to know. So that's the original version, which is 10 out of 10, no notes, 100% within my color palette. I love that color. I would buy it all the time. I just don't tend to buy it all the time because I don't tend to see a whole lot of it. A couple people have told me yellows don't tend to move. So I don't tend to see a whole lot of mustards in the store, a whole lot of golds in the store, unless they're metallic. And I'm not necessarily looking to like give them the old razzle dazzle when I'm just wearing a cardigan, you know? So that's the original. Here's the long languishing whip. Obviously, this is definitely red. So this goes in that warmer part of the color palette. However, this is redder than I would normally go. And this is, again, where I feel like it's a successful way to go out of my comfort zone. I knew for my second sample, I wanted what I was calling Theoden red. This is not a color I would normally buy. It's not a color I would normally knit with. I would usually go a little bit more maroon or a little bit more towards the burnt orange. I have a skein of yarn that is kind of close, but it's definitely more toward orange than it is red. But I knew with the FO, I want this to be what I was calling Theoden red, royal red. When you look at King Theoden, which my Golden Haul shawl is inspired by King Theoden and the people of Rohan. So when you look at Theoden, one of his tunics, I think it's the sleeves of his tunic is red. And that might actually be an undershirt he's wearing under a tunic. And I knew that I really wanted a royal red, and that's what this is. So this is Green Mountain Spinnery. It's a tweed, which I also love. This is Green Mountain Spinnery, their weekend wool, and their chestnut colorway. Very different from Wool of the Andes worsted in every way, and I absolutely love it. I love Green Mountain Spinnery. They are one of my favorites, truly. I've been knitting with their yarn since I lived in Florida. I do not care how hot it is. I'm knitting with Green Mountain Spinnery. And so I got this yarn with the specific FO in mind. Now, this is a long languishing whip. It's not long languishing because of the color. It's long languishing because your girl made a rookie mistake. I didn't think to check the dye lots. I don't know why. So I got all of this way, and then I knit probably about another 4 inches. And then I put it on the ground. And I looked at it to admire my handiwork, when really what I saw was a huge, darker strip right across the bottom. Yeah, it was seriously like you took this, but make it blood red, and it was just a strip of it, and I had a little bit of a meltdown, and then ripped it out. I thought to myself, I know. I will just do some math, and I will make sure that I am at a correct multiple to then be able to do the border cable, and it'll just be a little smaller. It is still a shawl that I could wrap myself up in. It is still cozy as all giddy up. It's definitely a big shawl. The original is a slanket, though. So this is a little bit more of, I can wrap it around myself and get some stuff done around the house, instead of I can wrap it around myself and just feel like a goddess, like the original one is. So that's what I thought I would do. Until they then went and looked, and not every single skein I have left is from the same dye lot. So I basically would have to be alternating skeins in the border cable. And if y'all haven't knit this, what you're doing is you'll get to the end, you'll cast on more stitches going this way, and then you'll start knitting going this direction. So where you were knitting going this direction, now you're going to go this direction, and as you're knitting that border cable, you're binding off. So alternating skeins in that sounds absolutely miserable. There is no part of me that wants to do that. I hate it, just immediately no. But then I think about taking this off my needles and ripping out, and it is also immediately no. I don't want to do that either. So I just don't have the heart to do it. I love it so freaking much. And then you add on to it that I bought this color because of a very specific FO I had in mind. And so I don't know that I would knit myself a sweater out of this color. I just don't think that I would. I would knit my husband a sweater out of this color. And this is one of his favorite colors. He also loves tweed. Like, he loves a good tweed. He wears this color a lot for good reason. He looks fine in this color. Like, he's giving brawny paper towel man in the best way. I said what I said. So, like, I'm not kidding. So if I was to rip this out, I think it would be about time Dan gets another sweater. But I'm so loathsome to give up Green Mountain Spinnery. I really am. It is just my precious. Like, I can't help it. I love Green Mountain Spinnery so much. I've had this yarn for years. It still smells like sheep. Like, I love it so much. But now that I'm thinking through it, I do tend to steal Dan's sweaters a lot. So it'd basically be also knitting something for me. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Sweater for Dan or make the shawl? Sweater for Dan or make the shawl? It's been a while since Dan got a sweater. I will admit. He doesn't tend to wear them. But I know that that's coming from living in Florida, where I would wear my sweater around the house, but he maybe wouldn't do that as much as me. So now that we live somewhere where we actually will get a fall and a winter, I should probably be nice and knit my husband another sweater. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? What do you think? Be fully 100% selfish, knit the shawl, or be 50% selfish and knit him a sweater that I know damn well I will also be wearing. Like, let's just tell the truth. We have very similar. He's usually a size up from me, just because his shoulder. The man's bigger than me. What can I say? It's not hard to do. I'm basically a dwarf. He's more of a man. Like, if we were going Tolkien's Middle Earth people, I am a dwarf. He's a man. So, like, I wouldn't say he's an ent by any stretch of the imagination, but he's definitely at least part of the Rohirrim. So I tend to knit, though, a size that when I wear it gives boyfriend fit. And so I'm cozy and I'm comfy, and I can basically wear them with some leggings and some boots and call it a day. And I think I just talked myself into ripping that out and knitting him a sweater instead. Okay, this is supposed to be about color, not about what do I do with my long languishing whips. Anyway, royal red, not usually a color I would knit with, but it does fall within the overall color palette that I tend to use. And so with a specific FO in mind, It is a successful way for me to go out of my comfort zone, knit with a color that I wouldn't necessarily use a whole lot. And when you go into my yarn collection, you can tell you're not going to find another color like this. That's the only one. So, okay, moving right along, let's do a whip. So this is one of my designs. We've talked about it pretty recently, but I thought it was a good example of how even within one color family itself, there's a lot of variation, and it's so freaking interesting to me. Okay, so this is my Stolen Silver Spoons. This is my second version of Stolen Silver Spoons that I'm knitting. So the original Stolen Silver Spoons is a great example of a color that I normally do not wear. But with the FO, it makes sense. So the original is knit out of Lake Ice Heather. It's Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. Lake Ice Heather. It's a fitted crop top with a slight balloon sleeve. And I know that I'm going to wear it over dresses. I know I'm going to wear it over high-waisted skirts. And I know that I have a burnt orange skirt and a burnt orange dress. And for some reason, this color with burnt orange sings to me. And it might seem weird to other people. I don't really care. It's exactly what I want. So I know this is not even in that color palette at all whatsoever. There's nowhere on that color palette that this is going to make sense. But combined with my favorite color palette, it makes a great deal of sense. And so it's a successful way to push myself out of my comfort zone. That being said, when I finished that crop top, I knew I want a version of this that is a full-length sweater and worsted weight. I'm working on Stolen Silver Spoons Light, which is in a very similar color. We talked about it last episode. You could go check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's going to look wildly different. Even if I do this out of a worsted weight, Stolen Silver Spoons Light is still going to look wildly different. And I wanted a Stolen Silver Spoons OG in a full sweater length with some A-line shaping. I'm just doing this for me. I will be more than happy to write up how I did the A-line shaping, slap it on my Ravelry project page if anybody is interested. But this is a modification I made just for me. And this is where we're at. So this is a great example of a green that I absolutely love, I would absolutely buy, but definitely falls on the cooler side of the color palette, which I would have told you I don't tend to live in. This color is definitely one of those exceptions. So this is also Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted. This is their, wait for it, Shire Heather. I mean, come on. Of course I'm going to wear this. I mean, can you see this? I mean, oy. That heathering is just so good. I think that's the other reason I love it. It has flecks of gold in it, right? So it's like that warm color palette is still there, but it's not right in your face, if that makes sense. So I absolutely love this. I will 100% wear it. This is a color that I would buy, even though, again, when you go into my closet, you might not find that much of this color. You'll find a lot more yellow leaning greens, which I just so happen to have sitting right next to me, a yellow leaning green. So you have these greens, which I'm a huge green. I love green. I buy it. I wear it. My entire living room is basically evolving around a green couch. I mean, this is actually pretty freaking close to the color of my couch. I will say it's showing up on my screen as a little bit bluer. I would definitely say this is a cooler color, but I think my camera, at least on my screen, is lying. I would say it's a little warmer than this is showing up. So you have this kind of green. The greens that I'm most attracted to tend to be more like this. So this is just Stone Cold Disco, and I love it. This is Chartreuse. This is Genovian Pear from Baby Cat Yarns. This is my favorite color that Britta dyes. I've talked about it ad nauseum. My Hat for Thorin is out of this color. This is it on non-superwash though. Hat for Thorin is on superwash and it looks a little different. But I absolutely love this. And then you have this color. So this color I'm using it in a whip right now that I'm not willing to share. I'm not willing to share that whip because it is not size inclusive. And it is coming from a designer who, if you ask me, has no excuses. Their stuff should be size inclusive. They are one of the more successful designers. There's just no excuse. So I don't want to promote it. I'm finishing it and I will wear it. I will not wear it on this podcast, but I'm going to finish it and wear it. It was a gift. The pattern was a gift from my husband long before I knew what size inclusivity was. And so I started it and I don't want to rip it out. It just, because it's from Dan, I really want to make it And I will. And so if people ask me about the pattern, I will inform them. It's not size inclusive, so I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I would love to tell you about this yarn because my God, this yarn is amazing. So this is Jamesons of Shetland. When I knit with Jamesons of Shetland, I feel like I'm knitting with my ancestors. There's just no other way to put it. There's something that just feels like home to me about knitting with this yarn. Shetland yarn in general, Shetland sheep, I would say, I feel that way. But there's something about Jamesons in particular that I'm absolutely in love with. This is their Spindrift. So I believe this is a worsted weight. And you want to know the name of this colorway? It's Pippin. So of course I'm going to love it. It's another heather, right? So you can see the red in there. I love it. There's nothing about this yarn that I don't love. And I wanted to share it, but I didn't want to share the pattern that it's in. So this is how I figured we could go about talking about it. You have the green in Shire Heatherway, which, guys, I picked that color before I knew the name. I didn't buy this yarn, my husband did. So I promise you, I do things that aren't Lord of the Rings based. They find me. Like the great eye, it seems to always be watching, and it finds me, okay? So I can't help it. But yeah, you have these two, which are definitely warmer greens. These are the greens that you're gonna see in my closet a lot. You know what? You're going to see it in my yarn collection a lot. And then you get the cooler greens. And I wear them all, but these definitely are more of what I would have told you that I wear versus what I'm actually knitting with at the moment. And I thought that was kind of interesting. This isn't, I wouldn't really even say it's out of my wheelhouse. So it's a success, period, because I love green. But these are the greens that I tend to gravitate towards most. And then you slap me with a green like this, and I can't resist. I think I just love the color green, to be honest. So, and thinking about it, the reason I think that you would find certain colors in my yarn collection that you won't find in my closet is because I'm trying to knit things that will complement my closet. I'm not trying to knit things that can replace things in my closet. I'm trying to knit things that will go over them really well. You're going to go in my closet, you're going to find a lot of black. It's because my cardigans, my pullovers, I like those to be more in your face. I like it to be more pops of color happening in that way than, say, a t-shirt and some jeans. In that case, you're going to find a lot of black jeans. You're going to find a lot of black t-shirts. I can't help it. I never got out of my little punk goth kid phase. Though I will say, I think more of this is starting to come back. I think that that Hobbit laying in the grass is starting to emerge again. Someone once told me, and I think this is how the two wolves that live inside me tend to become one. Someone said to me once, I love your look. You look like a little mod punk librarian. And I was like, my God, I have arrived. Like, that's exactly, that's it. I'm good. I'm done. Like, peak Nicole has been met. Everything's downhill from that moment. So I think it's that, it's definitely that inner Hobbit. I think that's starting to come through, which is really interesting now that I'm thinking through this out loud, because all of my current designs are from The Hobbit. So we got Halflings Garden Party, which is inspired by the waistcoat that Bilbo Baggins wears at the beginning of the Hobbit movies. It's also inspired by the Hobbit's love of all things that grow. And then you have Stolen Silver Spoons, which is inspired by Lobelia Sackville Baggins and Bilbo's silver spoons and all of the hobbits that have adventure in them and who are waiting for the call, basically. Whether it's a call that comes from inside themselves or if it's the wizard drawing the mark on their door, it's super interesting to me that I just connected those two things. That's the side of me I feel like is waking up a little bit, and that's the side of me that's I've been designing for. Woo! Woo! Y'all, the things your knitting can teach you if you just listen. It's incredible. All right, let's talk about another FO. We got two more we're going to go through, an FO and a whip. So let's talk about the FO. This is my design. This is the I Am No Man Pullover. So pop a picture in and you're immediately going to see it. It's purple. It's purple. Anyone who has been here for more than 5 minutes will have heard me say, I don't do purple. I said I don't do purple earlier on this podcast, but there it is. And here she is. This is purple. I mean, granted, it's a warm purple, right? This is like a Merlot. Maybe? I don't know, guys. I don't know how to name colors, to be honest. But I usually would tell you I don't do purple, but here we all are. I wear this all the time. Like, all the time. If I can wear this, I will. I am never not wearing this when I have the opportunity. I think, just like the Golden Hall Shawl 2nd edition, I had a very specific vision and a very specific FO in mind with this. So this is baby cat yarns, and Britta dyed this colorway alongside I Am No Man, right? So it grew up, the heroic palette from baby cat yarn grew up alongside this design. So I think that's why the purple really works. It also really works because this is 100% in the color palette that I shared earlier. It's 100% in my wheelhouse. It's just not a wheel I tend to slap on the buggy before I go. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but in the right way. I sent Britta inspiration photos of Éowyn. This is inspired by the moment that Éowyn absolutely murks the Witch King of Angmar. So I sent Britta photos of Éowyn's armor. She nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. And I think that's why this is a purple I will wear forever. I would order more leather and knit more things out of it. That's how much I love this color. Even though you will not catch me with this in my yarn collection. It is interesting to me that when I started to design the Fear No Darkness cardigan, it's coming from the I Am No Man pullover, but it's the cardigan version. I'm currently re-knitting it and writing it. We're going to have a project blog all about it, start to finish. So we'll talk about it then. But it's interesting to me that when I knit the cardigan, I went for a brassy yellow. I knit it out of Austin from Baby Cat Yarn. I'll put in a picture or even maybe a video. I knit it out of the Austin colorway from the Heroic palette. So I went from a color that I normally would say I don't wear to a color I wear all the freaking time. And I wear the crap out of that cardigan. Seriously, I wear it all the time. So I think it's a little interesting that I went from slightly, outside the comfort zone, smack dead right back into it. And on that note, we are going to finish with a whip that is also in a yellow. We could not get through a conversation about color and me without talking about a color like this. Guys, if my soul was a color, this would be it. So this is Good Karma yarn. I do not remember the colorway name. I'll put it here. This is the Minimalist Cardigan by Karina Spencer. We're going to have a project vlog about this one too. I'm currently working on it. I'm knitting this for sweater school. I figured before I try to design a set and sleeve, try to teach myself how to, self-draft a set and sleeve, I should probably knit one by someone who knows what they're doing. So that's what I've been doing. This is the front panel. I've also finished the back panel. Now, we're going to do, like I said, a project vlog. It's not a start to finish project vlog with this, but I figured a set and sleeve, especially for someone who's never done one before, the defining moment is when you set in the sleeve. So that's what we'll do. I'll start filming when I start the last panel and then go through the sleeves and the process of seaming it. So this is 100% a me vibe. It's got texture, it's got cables. I have things to say about the pattern, but again, we'll leave that for the project vlog. The point is the color. My God, this color. I love this color. Again, if my soul was a color, this would be it. Either this or, we've talked about this one before, this colorway. This is not the same. This isn't what I have on my chest at the moment. This is her Tolkien colorway on her Lima base, and it is absolute luxury. This is superwash BFL and silk. I believe it's 55% superwash BFL and 45% silk. So all that sheen you see in there, yep, that's the silk. So these two colors, if my soul was a color, they would be it. I love a good gold. I love a good yellow. This is not just in my wheelhouse. It is the epicenter of my wheelhouse. It is just, oh, it's beautiful. It is, I love it. And I think it is why I will tend to knit with cooler colors. You put this together with this, you put this together with this, so it's like, you don't want to completely ignore an entire section of color just because it doesn't fit within a definition that you've set yourself. You put this with a cooler color and it's really going to stand out. And then the cooler color is also going to really stand out. And yeah, so guys, this is just fantastic. This yarn is merino and alpaca. and it's creating a really beautiful fabric. I love everything about it. This feels like knitting with gold for me, and it makes me really happy. This has been a really interesting exercise for me because it's showing me I do have a vibe. I really do. I have a very strong vision for what I want and for what I like to wear. I have a very set idea. And when I deviate from it, I am doing it in a way that it's still serving that idea. And so when I started looking at Halfling Garden Party and some of my other swatches and whips and started noticing a lot more brown, it kind of set off some alarm bells. Like, hold on, are you actually going to wear that? Or are you shifting a little bit? Are you adding a little bit more into what you would normally be wearing? And by that, I mean, I'm going to show you a couple swatches. So I was accepted to test knit from my hero, my absolute hero, but I'm not entirely sure how much I can or can't share yet. It says in the application, do not share anything about this pattern until the pattern is published. So on just abundance of caution, I am not going to share who I'm test knitting for or what I'm test knitting yet. When the pattern comes out in September, I am going to not shut up about it because this has been really cool for me. But I can show you the swatch. It's just a stockinette swatch. So it's brown. What? So this is undyed. This is, I think, the main organic from Green Mountain Spinnery. So this is 100% merino, which I have to tell you, unsurprised, this is very, very, very rustic. This is probably as rustic as I would go for me. It doesn't irritate my skin, but knitting with it is a job. It's a worsted weight. It's very rustic. And so it can get a little stiff. So I'm having to take a lot of breaks while knitting with it, but it's a really beautiful color. This is undyed. So this is the sheep's like natural freaking color. And I think that's part of what I'm sharing here. Another swatch, this I believe is Kelborn Woolens. I believe this is chocolate. I love this. So even when I do tend to go brown, this is a natural, right? So this is undyed. When I go dyed, I tend to still go warmer, even when I go neutral. So this is for a sweater that I was planning for Dan, but I have a very similar color that I was going to knit a sweater for myself out of. This I'm knitting a sweater for myself out of. Lots of brown. And then looking at Halfling Garden Party, which, I mean, Halfling Garden Party, this is still a really warm brown, right? And I was looking at a different color from Holst Super Soft or Holst Garn in their Super Soft that was even warmer. It was their cinnamon color. And I decided to go with this one. But it had me thinking. It had me really trying to pay more attention because I don't want to be spending time working on something and then never wearing it. And it has really helped me solidify what I want and how I want to present myself, right? So for a lot of people, clothing is just clothing. That's not it for me. It is a form of self-expression. It is sometimes even a form of rebellion. It's a form of, it's a statement for me. And so it matters to me. And that's where a lot of like the knitting comes in for me too. And so I've said it once, I will never stop saying it. It is amazing what your knitting can teach you if you just let it, if you just listen. So my knitting at the moment is teaching me that there is a side of me that I'm not paying enough attention to. It is that inner hobbit. It's no coincidence all of these designs are from the Hobbit. It's just not. It has in the past taught me that I'm strong and that I'm capable. It's no coincidence I was knitting from Rohan at that point. It can teach you to slow down. It can teach you to find calm. It can teach you to rest. It can teach you that even though you are an accountant, you're still a highly creative person. It can teach you how to connect with your heritage, with your ancestry. I mean, what it can't teach you, I don't know. It can teach you so many things. You can find yourself in your knitting if you just look and listen. And it is definitely doing that for me, especially after just moving. There's been a whole lot of upheaval. My knitting is keeping me grounded at the moment. And so looking at all the color, going back through my yarn collection, looking at my whips, I can tell you that there's not a single color in my whip or in my FOs that I wouldn't still wear. There's only one thing that I don't really wear at the moment. And it's just because it doesn't fit my body at the moment. but it's green, so I would definitely wear it. It's actually the first sweater I ever knit. So there's a whole lot that our knitting can teach us if we just listen. And it's amazing, and it is a wonderful art form. It's incredible, and so are you. And I think on that wonderful note, I'm going to end. I hope that this maybe has you thinking a little bit about how you choose your colors in your knitting. If you're someone who knows, I knit with these colors, I wear these colors, I know my vibe, let me know in the comments, what is your vibe? So I'm Mod Punk Librarian. What's yours? I really want to know in the comments. If you don't have a vibe, do you have an idea of what you want it to be? Let me know in the comments. I hope this was at least a little entertaining, if not helpful. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. So I hope you guys are having a great week. I know this video is a little late. To be honest with you, I've recorded this 4 different times on 4 different days. It's been a lot. The first time, I did the entire episode before I realized I didn't hit record. So that's where we're at. So I'm sorry that this is a little late. I've been ripping my hair out a little bit with technology. And that technology does include my own brain. So I apologize for being a little bit late, but I hope you have a great week. And I hope you had a really great weekend. And I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye.